Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly live Q&A. Ashala here, and my lovely daughter, Crystal, joining me. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mama. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you ever feel called to share the lives or ask your friends to tune in with us, please do. It's so lovely to be adding continuously to the community here. And on that note, too, I have my solo live coming up this Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I know is a little tricky for some of you that join us, and also may make space for others. So 4 p.m. Solo live, answering some personal questions and any questions that anyone might have and want to bring in. So fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah. Okay, so we are off to the races, and it looks like we have a question. Hello, by the way, everyone. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Hi, Tarot by Lupo and Leo and Suzanne. Welcome, welcome. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at two suns. Laura's asking about the two suns for normal. Oh my gosh, I kid you not. Look at that. I opened the deck. I literally opened the deck to the sun card. Good job, everybody. This means we're all in good frequency alignment.
The sun and the hermit.
The sun and the hermit. Like so. Yep. So
the external and the internal light.
The external light and the internal light. So fascinating. Wow. So what would you like to know exactly, Laura?
Yeah, I'm going to put up her question, and we'll get into this part of it like this. The question today is about the two suns, the blinding white one and the one that holds its golden hue. Every time it happens, the white sun is not locatable while the golden one appears in the southeast. So very interesting, and yet not entirely a question in there. So we're wondering what the question is. And Leo also says, question, are they both staying? Okay.
Okay, so here we go. Starting off with, I'm just going to put 3 cards. Where we are right now. This is where we are, and then where we're going and how we're getting there. Where we're going. Where we're going. 6 of Pentacles. Where we are is 5 of Wands, so it's chaos, a chaotic node. Almost like they're saying, like kind of a hiccup in time, where there's a lot of energies kind of congested, right? A little bit of congestion. So transition is what this feels like, and where we're going is balance. The 6. What can you tell us about the 6?
Yeah, it feels like balance. It feels like the question of, are they both staying, and is the old one the real sun? Kind of looking at them, cumulatively, it feels like it's balancing both right now. It's both happening, and it's creating a certain sort of energy movement, and a certain the duality that it creates of having both the suns is very much like purposeful for that movement in our own beings. The physical.
I'm really getting a feeling of going between dimensions as well. We've got going through the 5th, which is a lot of chaos in the 5th dimension. Everyone's like, oh, I want to go into 5D. It's like, well, maybe not. Maybe you want to go through 5D and have the activation, which is what we're doing right now. But 6D is where we get into harmony. So it feels like this is a lot of going quickly, rapidly, a chaotic node through that 5-dimensional time where nothing feels quite like stable, right? Which is where we are. And for those of you that have never heard of this phenomena of two suns, this is a prophecy that is in several different ancient indigenous cultures around the world, where there will be a time in the transition between the epochs where we will be able to actually see two suns visible in the sky at the same time. Other versions of this suggest that we will see the sun rising in different parts of the sky. We may see the sun looking a different color. So we are traditionally recognizing a golden sun, and many of us in the last decade or two have been experiencing the sun being really blinding and white compared to how it used to be. So all of this is open for discussion, I feel like. But my sense is there's something when you're asking, are they both going to stay? I feel like this is like balance. You see the scales there. It's like they both have jobs. They both have something to do to contribute to the greater good. So in the long run, I think they will both stay relevant, but whether or not they stay visible the way they are right now remains to be seen. And then how are we getting there? Another 6.
Another 6.
6 of Wands. So slowly and steadily, we are going, and this is a little like, a little bit, it's not big leaps and bounds. It's like little leaps over the little hurdles. And again, 6th dimension. Any other thoughts on that, Crystal?
Yeah, when you were talking about the different colors, and I do something, made me wonder about what's in our skies, and how there's like different, what's being put into the atmosphere, and if the sun is reflecting differently through that, and how we see it is seen differently. If things are being, if you think of the way that a sun shines through a crystal, well, how is the sun shining through all of these new particles that are being, put into the atmosphere? Curious about that.
Yeah. So again, there's, I love the fact that we have 2 6 cards here, and the doubles, when we have 2 of something, which with only 3 cards laid out, it's pretty rare to have 2 of a kind. The odds are pretty low that you'll get 2 of a kind, right? So we really have that sense of the, well, interesting. I'm hearing the 6th sun. So
yeah, that's what I was feeling. I was like, maybe there's 6 suns.
yeah, I think that it's almost like we're looking at the different dimensions, and each one has a version of a sun.
Yeah.
And so we are looking at, because we're shifting and we're moving pretty rapidly, it's almost like the hologram of reality is a little bit unstable right now. That's instability, that 5. The odd numbers always have a bit of like motion to them, and the even numbers are stabilizing. The 5 is the most chaotic, unstabilizing number of all. So
it's very interesting that the doubles that we have are the 6s, not something else. And so it's directly following the 5, right? And it's those little steps towards the 6th dimension, as you talk about.
Yeah.
Right? Those, and I love the idea of the different timelines. That's very curious to me.
Yeah. Alora is saying, I often feel that when we're on the correct timeline, let's just call it the ideal timeline.
Yes.
We see them both, or we perceive that dimensional complexity. It's not just a simple sun in the sky anymore. And saying when you're in deep meditation, then your earth has 3 suns. So I think what we're getting at overall is that we're expanding into recognizing that the sun is a very complex, extraordinary, let's just say, a being that has tremendous mystery associated with it. If you can call it an it. And as we grow and as we evolve through this dimensional upgrade that we're going through out of the really sticky, heavy, dense material reality, back into higher frequency, the sun's, progression into more complex versions of itself is part of that shift. Okay.
Love it.
So, oh, and Leo's saying, will they split?
Yeah, I had that up suns?
There. Right.
Yeah.
Let's pull a couple of cards on that. I think, that's it. Oh,
I actually really keep feeling, and when I tune into it, I see us with like bee eyes, kind of, where a lot of it is about our ability to perceive. Like Mom was talking about the entity with which the sun like could possibly really be, and we're thinking it's a singular. We've been thinking it's a singular being, so we see it singularly, and then we've been understanding that no, there's two suns, so we see two. But I feel like the sun can actually be multiples and can actually be seen through all of these different like fractals and lenses and all of that kind of stuff. And the more that we open to the capacity of being able to see the multidimensionality of the sun, the more we see like the multiple ways with which it can express.
Yeah. Well, and it's really, you know, to me, the six energy is a lot about it's this beautiful energy of service, of higher development, like Christ consciousness, and interesting, you know, we've got the four here as well. So now we have the 4, 5, and 6 of wands. So does the sun split to become the different ones? I agree with Crystal. I think it's already split. It's more that we perceive the different layers of it. And for those of you that are tuning in and going, what the heck are they talking about? Like, I only see one sun in the sky. You guys are off your rocker. It's like what we're referring to is this people have dreamt about two suns. We have different mythologies and prophecies around two suns or multiple suns in the sky. Already people are describing the sun as seeming to rise in different locations now than it used to. People, you know, mainstream people are recognizing different things going on with the sun that they've never seen before. And that includes perceiving the color differently. Like we used to feel the sun was very warm and yellow. And a lot of people are saying, wow, it hurts my eyes. It's bright. It's white now. And so if you can just start to kind of go, there's something more magical and mysterious going on in those heavens of ours. That's a good way to begin exploring this.
Hello, Andrea. Hello, Adele.
Yeah.
Welcome. Exciting.
Welcome. And again, we have the sun card came up.
Yeah, it's like, thanks for talking about me.
Right.
Thanks for looking into that. Great question, Laura. Thank you so much for getting us started off. Okay, Suzanne, here we go. Was the moon a place for soul trapped to be able to communicate via direct message like a telepathic technology?
Strong question. Well, we expect that from you, Suzanne.
Strange question, but okay. She has her reasons.
All right.
No doubt.
Let's now look at the moon.
Let's look at the moon.
And then we've got that Pmjt clone question. So we'll go up to that.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start with our moon technology, and I'll see what the cards say, and then I'll give you a bit of my own perspective on that.
I know you've
trapped to be able to communicate. Place for souls trapped to be able to communicate via direct messages. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't shuffled on any of these.
Oh, so here, you shuffled this one.
No, it's fine. Carry on. No, it's okay.
Bossy pants.
I just noticed. I know. She gets a hold of the cards. She's like, do nothing.
Okay, next one. It's all yours.
100%. I just noticed too. It's all good.
So where we're going. Oh, the moon is next on our radar, I think. How we get there. It's very interesting. It's almost like this work with our sun technology is going to help prepare us to work with our moon reflector energy. And so what I understand about our moon is that it is related to the fourth dimension, which is the astral plane. It is related to our astral. So you're absolutely right. In a way, Suzanne, what I understand about it is that it is a place, it's kind of like a net to capture our souls as we like exit between lives. And it's the first layer of our life review. It's where we do a lot of, let's just say, energetic processing, the way we do in dreams, where we go through a lot of our life experiences and we learn from acting them out differently, from being on different ends of the spectrum, being on the receiving end a little bit. So the astral realm is the moon, also known as purgatory in Christian, um, you know, storylines and versions of reality. So that you could say that the souls are trapped, able to communicate via direct messages. Well, the astral plane, things happen very quickly, right? It's a lot of, but it is a bit of a, like you can go around in circles a lot in the astral plane, just like in dreams, right? There's a lot of frustration there.
Yeah, the kind of like the fives are like the spiraling energy, and the spiraling is kind of like the tornado energy, and it feels like there's the ability to kind of like just get wound into the vortex of the if we think about stuff like the vortex of the energy of the moon in space, and it's what do we have when we go on? Oh, my brain this morning. What do we have when we go onto Earth? The gravity.
Mhm.
And that magnetic gravitational pull, what happens to our souls when we come into the frequency of the moon, is that sort of like, does this energy, that spiraling energy, is that the frequency with which we get kind of wrapped in there and send the soul on that journey?
Which is, the number 5 is the number of man. It's the number of, like, we are the 5 creature, right? We have a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs, so the 5 limbs or the 5 extremities. And it is the also the number of growth, but also chaos. So it's this principle of coming into matter and that pulsing, growing energy, the spiral. The spiral is the number 5, as Crystal said. So it is this, like, we come through the vortex of the moon to Earth and we exit out of that. So it's literally that coming into 3D, and then we go back into 4. As we exit, we go out 4D and 5, and we integrate a lot of what we experienced here in 3D and 1 and 2 and 3D in the deeper density. So it is literally like the activator. I think that analogy of a wringer washing, we get wrung out, right? All the energy, all the emotion, everything gets processed and wrung out before we expand up into the higher dimensional realities between lives. And we also have to go through that if we are doing a purposeful sort of going into Christ consciousness or ascension up into 60. We have to go through that ringer wash of the fifth dimension, and the moon plays a role in that. Yeah.
It's very interesting how it goes from the strength into that bringing out into the 4th, which is that stabilization. So it's kind of like where you'd go into 5th dimension but come back to 4th. And I wonder if there's some sort of, the 4th is kind of like the place that you can go to have that sort of telepathic communication. If there's like this is kind of like the energetic gateways kind of thing, and if there's the ability to come back into this more stabilized, balanced place for the soul after where that telepathic communication technology is opened.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Because this does feel almost like communication, telepathic powers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's almost like radio towers or something, isn't it? Now, interesting with our 8, which is the strength card, you notice she's got that infinity halo over her head, which has a lot to do with the eternal energy of momentum, eternal energy of growth and momentum. So I feel like the moon plays a significant role in sort of helping us keep moving, keep the energy moving. Yeah.
Many years ago, my deceased grandfather phoned from the moon to give a message to my aunt explaining he wasn't able to reach her, but he could tell me. He said they had permission to call from there.
Ooh, isn't that cool?
Cool.
Well, I mean, that's very much like when we
Mhm.
hear stories of the astral, the beginning of the life review. We often hear that people are sort of in this place where they're close enough to Earth that they can still connect, but they're going through, kind of doing a lot of review of what's happened. And if they have a lot of trauma, they're kind of having to process through some of that before they can move into the higher dimensions. So
Yeah.
it can be a scary place. It can also be, I've seen people when I've done mediumship work, I've seen people coming in from the astral, fourth and fifth dimension of the moon realm, and they're having a fantastic time. They're like, having fun, visiting, party. Someone, I went to a medium once that saw my mom after she'd passed, and she was sitting on a bench eating ice cream. So she was like, I get to eat all the ice cream I want here. So it's like there's something where we're kind of working out. We may be able to have those things, but they're not going to be as satisfying as they are here in physical form, right?
Mm.
It's sort of like it's our opportunity to interact energetically, just like we do in dreams, where we have experiences, but they're not quite real. They're not quite fully grounded, right? They're like close, but not quite.
Now I want to sit in the sun and eat ice cream. Now I'm ready for ice cream.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Well, off to something totally different now.
On an entirely different note.
Pmjt, by the way, for those of you that don't know, for us Canadians, Pmjt refers to our Prime Minister, our former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. So let's have a look. There's a question about was he a clone? Very interesting. Quite disconcerting, right? All of this clone conversation. I find it like, oh yeah, here.
I'm just sitting here watching her sew. Is she gonna share the shuffling?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's such an interesting conversation about clones, and interesting too when we're talking about the sun having these multiple versions of itself, and who knows, right? I mean, how many versions of us are there, and what do we need to know about cloning in general? Like,
yeah, I often feel with some of these questions like cloning, it's almost like what are we going to do with the information? How do we I think it gets into what really is human. What is human, and what is the value of humanity? I think for this one, what is the value of a human experience, and where does the soul come in? What does that look like? So I almost want to actually add on something to your question. What is the quality of the soul of this being that we've observed? I definitely agree with Janine that I think there's actors playing different roles. But is there a person at the center of this that's a real human being with a real human soul, or are we just seeing a character? So let's have a look. I'm going to actually lay this out like a Katrina, like a focus question. Wow.
7 of them?
Oh gosh, right? Oh, another 7. Okay.
Yeah, right?
Oh, interesting. So, yep. Definitely feel like something happened between the age of 5 and 7 to this person. That we know that they were groomed for the role that they played, or that they were going to potentially play. And yeah, I agree with Crystal. I think but whether we're looking at cloned versions or actors,
Yeah.
let's see what we need to know about this. Mm. Wow. It's possible. Because look at that. He's a Capricorn, isn't he?
What was he?
Yeah. Supposedly his birthday is a Capricorn, but it's like there's two.
Yeah.
So there's another version. Wow. Yeah, that's kind of trippy.
So maybe they cloned him like right
around that age or something,
or gathered the DNA necessary to start creating or something like that. Like
that's so wild.
Yeah.
So wild. Yeah. So interesting.
And then I would pull maybe a couple more on the sides about the soul stuff.
I think this has a lot to do with what we do with the information. And like I said, we can say all these evil people that are doing all these crazy things and how dare they, and like we annihilate them. We want to condemn them to, wherever horrible place. And I feel like whatever, like when we're here on Earth in this 3D plane, in this 3 and 4 and 5D, first to 5th D plane, right? We are all complicit in this. On some level, we are all part of this. We are all made up of the perpetrators and the victims of these stories inside of us, in our own DNA. So when we annihilate or condemn or condemn someone or a group of people, we're doing that to a part of ourselves, and that's going to have really challenging consequences. So I think what I'm trying to say is it's about saying we actually would love to see a healing of this, not so much like letting, you see, what you don't realize is just because we don't condemn these beings to horrible fates in some way that we have control over, trust me, in the karmic wheel of things, they will have some very, very intense, horrible experiences as a result of this. But it's not ours to decide. What we want to do is pray for healing overall.
Yeah.
We want to pray that, like if we pray for suffering, annihilation, or condemnation, we're going to create more of that in our own lives, in our own futures, in the futures of our ancestors or our descendants.
And we're tuning in with the frequency of the wound of what created those realities and those beings in the first place.
Yeah, it's almost like we're looking at bringing parts together. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's just like someone's suffering from bipolar disorder or schizophrenia. It's like we want to be able to see healing happening, to people to come back into a human wholeness. And, it might take a few lifetimes for that to occur, but instead of sending it angry, like disassociative energy of like, hate and condemnation, send it like a desire for healing and bringing it back into harmony, right? Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful.
Next question.
Yeah. New to Earth. Will the ascended be on New Earth while those that don't ascend stay in this Earth to continue learning?
Yeah, we've looked at this one quite a few times. I've looked at it here, and I've looked at it, I think, with Meg. So we'll just we'll see what the cards say today, and we'll also quickly reiterate. You go ahead, my love. Reiterate what we've seen in the past.
Always nice to check in. Always interesting to be curious about who we are in this new Earth. What does the ascended beings that are us we show up in this new earth place. What's the intention behind that?
Okay.
Got a hair in there for you.
Right. Two earths. So a splitting path of two earths. So this is where we are right now. We're thinking about this. We're very, I want to say rational, left brain, like trying to logically sort this out. Where we're going. Huh. Okay, interesting. How we're gonna get there. Oh, another sword. Another sword. Okay.
Well, it's interesting because I did say, like, what is the intention? This is like a very high level of intelligence in this new earth. And it's very interesting. This all feels very linear.
It does.
Like,
I think what we're talking about is it's a lot in our hands. Like we've got this, both the King and Queen of Swords are the master visionaries, designers, planners, scientists, researchers, that I like the ideology of things, right? And then the Emperor really is about power. It's about power and dominance. So we are like in this place where we're confronted with the whole contract around power and dominance. And there's no guarantee that we're going to pass this test according to this. Like it's in our hands. We need to like literally design our way out of this power dominant model. We don't just get to ascend. Like we don't just get to be like, wow, I did the right thing. And now I'm like, just like, we have to work. We have to learn our way out of the power dominant model. And part of that is about making boundaries. Part of that is about not taking things personally. There's a lot about learning how to be with ourselves and our own power issues within ourselves. This is how it's almost like the guides are refusing to answer the question, will there be a split? Will there be two paths? And they're saying, look, none of us are even going to get there if we don't do this. So they're kind of saying, we're trying to kind of look to the last chapter, the last page of the book, and we're in the first chapter of the shift. So they're saying you don't get to see the end right now. You get to see the work that you got cut out for you. So sorry about that, but that's what they're showing.
Okay, are the poles shifting? Will it eventually get dramatic to the point where the northern hemisphere?
Ooh, yeah, good one. I really did a meditation with our earth yesterday, and it was like a little bit almost like, ooh, wow. It was a little bit that feeling of what we just saw with those cards about, we're asking Earth, are you going to do this? And when I tuned into Earth was asking, like, Ashala, are you all going to grow and heal and be able to support me so that I don't have to do chaotic things? Like, it's almost like the ball's in our court is what I heard from Earth yesterday. I heard like, stop asking me. You're the ones that are going to design how it unfolds from here. I'm kind of just following along is what I heard from Earth. It's like this time. And it was interesting because the other thing I heard from Earth was that in the Kali Yuga, going into the Kali Yuga cycle, which we've been in for 2,500 years, and even starting the descent out of the Golden Age, which happened about 12,500 years ago, we had to have all these cataclysms that we had no control over. It was like Earth did all this stuff to us. It threw us around. It sunk Atlantis. It upheaved and had volcanoes that destroyed entire areas and people and civilizations and everything. And people felt really afraid, right? We had to go into that tremendous fear, that almost like abandonment, like our great Earth mothers abandon us. We don't feel safe anymore. We had to go into the ego, into fear. And now it's the opposite. We're at the opposite end of the spectrum. Now we design what the future looks like. We determine, is Earth, do we need a pole shift? Do we need all these chaotic, horrible upheavals? Or can we get down to business and start healing and evolving this Earth beautifully, naturally, without all that? And so that's what I heard when I tuned in yesterday. Let's see what our cards are saying. Okay, so we're racing ahead to the finish line. Again, a lot of this, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to us? The Chariot is like, just get me to the end. It's a little bit of that, like, where we get so overwhelmed that we just want to jump into the fire and end it all kind of thing, right? It's like, if it's going to be another big Armageddon, I just want to hurry up and get it over with, kind of is what I'm seeing with that. Meanwhile,
I mean, meanwhile, the Hermit is a much slower, integrative, experiential journey that is very solo, and each person is another piece of the puzzle. There are intentions, and our soul's journey is another piece of the adding to the power that Mom was just talking about, the power that we have to affect the polarity, the polarity. If you look at the black and white on the Chariot here, it's like we're being asked to take that slow and steady deep dive journey into, we'll see what the next card says, but into really, no matter what happens, how are we showing up? What are we going to do with it?
I feel like this is showing that we are actually guiding Earth now. We are guiding. So it's in our hands. It's in our hands. Interesting. I'll put a link below. I just put out a blog yesterday, and it was a lot about polarity and working to mature our soul and our ego beyond that duality conundrum. It doesn't mean that we give up our values, our beliefs, our personal destiny, and so on. It means that we mature and evolve to a place where we see how much power we actually have to change the future. And you can say, yeah, but I'm just one little person. It's like, well, okay, that's kind of like saying it doesn't really matter what I do, or nothing counts. Nothing I do is going to count because I'm just small. It's like, that's it's almost like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Are you small or are you huge, right? Are you small, or do you have it like all of the universe in a grain of sand? So this is us kind of growing up and saying, wow, we could really affect reality. We really can.
Seems to be a lot why we're being put through the paces right now. Yep, the paces.
Oh, right. So again, we're like, do we need to experience more time out, more disruption, more like suffering? Pole shift would be blanketing the Earth, another ice age. Excuse me, more weather extremes, right? We've got the snow, the people in the snow, tattered clothing, a lot of loss and suffering. It's like, do we need that to cleanse the Earth, to shift? Yeah, interesting. We're back to that 5D again. So I'm going to put the question back to all of you. Like, what do you feel you need to?
Well, I mean, it's okay, so the answer are the poles shifting.
I would say it's up to us. We could make that not happen, or certainly not be very extreme. And will it get dramatic to the point where the northern experiences warmer and the southern will get colder? I mean, here's another thing. What if we ask ourselves what kind of temperatures would be most ideal to balance out what we've been struggling with? Right? Like, how would you like to design things for the
Mm-hmm.
northern hemisphere, for
Mm-hmm.
the southern hemisphere? Like,
Not so much like what's going to happen and how do I survive through it, which is a whole lot of what we're going through right now, right? Like, what's going to happen?
mhm,
How do I survive it? What decisions do I make based on like the lack of control, the lack of security that I have,
mhm.
or the lack of, controlling the security I do have. There's a lot of that's going on right now. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're going to add pole shifts onto that. Like, and, and yet, no matter what, we're adaptable beings. We will
Mhm.
either adapt or go extinct and come back in a new way or whatever. Like
I
it's a lot about how we live right now.
It's interesting as well because, this to me also feels like if you look at this, we definitely have ice and snow in this card, and we have ice and snow in this card. So I think really what we are asking about is, like, to me, what I wanna know is what does the earth need to
Mhm.
heal? And if we need a slight inversion reverse to bring things into harmony, my goal is to make it gradual, adaptable, but we need to all take initiative in that and say, okay, maybe you're not going to live in the kind of house you live in right now. Maybe you're not going to be on this big grid system and have all these material things that you get to just like consume on a regular basis. Maybe we're going to need to be a bit more zen, a bit more kind of spiritually minded, and willing to live more in connection with the earth, grow our own food, maybe be off grid. Like, it feels like it really is. We have a lot of agency to design our role in this. We don't need to be victims, like Crystal said, of this terrible catastrophes that we're all afraid of. Like, we can, it's almost like if you think of the earth truly as our mother, as opposed to being afraid your mother's outbursts. It's like, are we mature enough now to say, let me help you, mother? Let me help you come into balance. Let me help you. And know that there's going to be some disruption, but I think that we can minimize that a lot.
Can we pull a couple more cards on how we help?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aw.
Here we are with our Fool energy again. Interesting.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Ask and wait for an answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Put it out there and don't rush. Like, say, okay, how fast does our earth have to answer us, right? Like, we're on a real, this chariot, we are on just a crash course here. The chariot is like the fast car that is going too fast for us. And so we want to slow it down. As Crystal said, grandfather time.
Mm-hmm.
The hermit is also known as grandfather time. So slow down. Are we trying to race to some kind of Armageddon here? Wait for the answer. Ah, we're doing these things not just to avoid catastrophe. We're doing them because it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, like Crystal said, we end up wherever we are on the spectrum, not because we did the wrong thing, just because
Or the right thing.
we're the right thing. But everything we do counts for something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be counted in by doing it for the right reason. Yeah.
And I feel like us as being, we think of the Earth Mother as having this whole power that just makes her own decisions and is, separate from us and will do whatever she wants to us regardless. And I feel like we're so much more interconnected to the earth and how she reacts and what she does and all that happens, and for us to start really knowing that we are the earth and the earth is us, and to stop thinking like it is so separate, and to ask for that to begin to come together for the highest good in a as a spiritual path, a spiritual union, rather than the earth against us, or us against the earth all the time.
And this is, I kind of like these two cards together, because what I see when I see these two together is it's almost like in this, friends of mine, 20 years ago, we were talking about pole shifts and stuff. And we were like, we knew that being on a spiritual path and doing all this work didn't guarantee that we were going to be like immune to all the disruption. We knew that it wasn't like a, get out of jail free card or anything. But we also knew that there was some perks that came along with doing all this work, right? And a little bit of this feeling of we could imagine that part of those perks are much greater likelihood that we will just be outside of danger, meaning, as we develop our intuition, as we come into our aligned frequency, it's like when you are in a good headspace and you manage to mitigate or detour around something that could have been really challenging, and you look back and you're like, wow, I'm really grateful that my higher self guided me around that. It's like, this feels like that, when you see they're escaping and the staircase is crumbling and they're just ahead of that. It's like, I feel like we stay on this edge of like the best possible version of our future by staying in spiritual integrity. It's not a guarantee. We can't expect that, but we can be really grateful when we notice how often we are saved from challenging things because of our spiritual alignment. So it's always the best practice. You do it for that reason because it's the right thing to do. And there's perks, which means you might actually be able to navigate this more graciously because of the spiritual work you do. So there's my little rant.
Okay, a couple more here. Leo has a question. Last year I got a lot of little electrical shocks. Was that an upgrade?
Little electrical shocks. Are you meaning, Leo, I'm going to ask you, are you meaning shocks like from touching things in the environment, or that you felt kind of energy shocks in your internal system?
Suzanne said that she too is experiencing this, especially when touching dogs. Okay, so you, Leo, got a lot of electrical shocks. Was that an upgrade?
Conductivity.
Yeah.
I'm feeling this one this time.
Nice.
Wow. We haven't seen her for a while. Our Empress. Oh, lovely. 2 3s. Oh, I would say yes.
Yes to the upgrade.
Yes to the upgrade. We have the Empress, which is, we're just talking about the Earth Mother, and that's definitely that,
Earth
right?
energy.
Earth energy.
Yeah.
And, the 3s, we've got 2 of them. They're a lot about synergy. It's about energy moving, like beautiful energy moving. And this definitely feels like an upgrade.
It definitely does. That 10, that up leveling, for sure. Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting. Suzanne said about touching the dogs, and there's the dogs down in the bottom. So it feels like it's being attuned to a higher frequency where you're getting that instant feedback. Kind of is what I'm sensing.
Definitely. I love it. I wonder how you've felt since all of these. Oh, what happened here? Oh, we got a new question.
Military choppers going east, then an hour or so later back to the airport. Is this a roundup?
Okay, so let's answer this and then we'll go back to Judith's about will the vaccinated stop shooting.
There was another one too. Yeah, something else up there. Oh, Ricky had asked about cuts at Trudeau.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking at that. Okay. I had a thought about that too.
Okay, so let's start with the airport near Edmonton. The only military tribunal base in Canada. Is this a roundup? The roundup. Okay.
I've had military choppers playing east and then an hour or so later. Now, is this roundup? Now, is this a roundup of?
This is the roundup around political prisoners that have from the Dark Hat operation.
Yeah.
So let's just look at this.
Is this the roundup?
Middle one this
Middle?
time? Wow. Interesting. Well, for one thing, I feel like these are both going that way into the past. So we've got the Queen of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, and the Two of Cups. There's this energy going into the past. So there is something like maybe a portion of it is something completing something. I almost feel like roundups have already happened, but there is something to finalize something. But I'm getting a new purpose, which is about partnering.
Yeah, there's something about, to me, I feel like it's like about, I feel like this is like drills, like from like, I mean, that would be more like the Two of Pentacles there, but it feels like it's kind of like the, creating the pathways and the connection between two places,
Two countries, maybe
two countries, or partnering up. Yeah,
because we got a partner card here.
Yeah, it seems more like it's a way, it's like creating connection and working together on something rather than rounding up.
Yeah, I feel that too. Let's pull a couple more on here. And yeah, this feels like there's something like it's some sort of beneficial mission that's about like distributing resources or something like that, because she's a resource queen. We've got the Six of Pentacles, which is a lot about resource. So there's something about redistribution of resources is what I'm getting as well. And like between two, like a pairing or a sharing. And that feels like positive, but yeah, it's also,
Pull that last one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about sovereignty, but working between perhaps two countries working together.
It certainly doesn't look nefarious. I feel like it's more about like some sort of, I mean, whether it's like economical, like resource support, or because there's, they're addressing some sort of an issue through the kind of back and forth that's happening. Yeah.
So good.
That's nice. Yeah. Okay. We do two more on these little ones here. We'll go to that question from Ricky.
There, that one.
I was kind of thinking about that with the King of Swords and the King of Pentacles there.
I like 2 countries.
2 countries and kind of like the 2 fathers. You know?
Interesting.
Like who they say was his father and who was really his father, and maybe there's both DNAs in there. Like who knows, right? Like maybe they created 2 people from.
Oh,
I mean,
Lord. Oh, did he have a twin?
Right?
Maybe he had a twin.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Okay. Let's get rid of it here.
Mm-hmm. So,
federal.
How did he
even qualify to serve in Canada?
Again.
Remember that 7 showed up?
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
3 sevens.
3 sevens. We both jumped. We both jumped. Did you see that? We're both like, whoa, blowback. Wow.
What do we even say?
She looks at me. I'm like, well, that doesn't happen very often.
So
3 of a kind in a small reading of 3 cards. Like, yeah, odds of that. Just check out the odds. There's 78 cards. There's only 4 sevens. Well, actually 5 sevens. Whoa, right? Oh my goodness. Well, lucky 7s, first of all, and 3 of a kind is a blessing. So it is a lot about some sort of evolutionary upgrade here. Now, how does he qualify? It feels like there is a larger plan at work here.
Yeah.
There's like what we see on this level. And again, you know, I often see larger spiritual plans where let's say the nefarious dark force, cabal, they don't really get the higher big picture because they're pretty locked into their little small view of reality. They think they've got it all sewn up, but there's a much higher force operating above that. So how did he qualify? I mean, for one thing, a lot of these countries are totally woven together. This is the weaving card. There's like 7 countries that are all completely woven. It's almost like they're one. So I think that it's sort of like people can from the elite families can go to any one of those countries. And it's sort of like they have the freedom to go anywhere they want. And it's all run by the same sort of elites in that pocket of countries, circle of 7. Yeah. However, they are also because we've got this 7 as the spiritual number and 3 is a blessing. There's something higher. There's a higher reason for it playing out like this.
Yeah. There's a higher reason why we have been fed the grand illusion of all of it.
And certainly it will help, as the truths start to come out, because there's these weaves and we can say, oh, now we know this is that, and that is this, and this is that. I also feel like this might be a really lucky one for us, truthers to dispel the conspiracy thing, because when this comes out, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, right? I think it's going to bring a lot of awareness to how these organizations have operated. Yeah. I had 3 sevens in my reading on Saturday as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we do? Okay.
We're pretty close to the end here. So I think we'll just go back up, and there was one more
about the shedding.
Yeah, let's do that one. And sorry if we didn't get your question. Jump on early next week, and we usually start at the beginning with not very many questions. So we'll.
Will the vaccinated stop shedding? That's great.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, you do. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Now we get in an automatic pilot, right? It's like I really meant to go there, and then I drove home.
Right? Especially me sitting in this chair where I do all my readings from. I'm like, We
can switch chairs next time.
You should go in your office next time. That could be good.
Oh, that's my special one that I do my live.
Okay.
It's all just a journey. It's all just a journey figuring it out. And we're looking at, will the vaccinated stop shedding? Will they? Will they? Have they? Thank you.
I'm going to do it like a focus answer spread. Here's us feeling so frustrated. Oh. We're both going, oh, because that's not really a yes, unfortunately.
Let's see what comes through.
The protocols will help.
Mm-hmm.
I think it depends on whether or not they've done a lot of work with protocols.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a guarantee. I don't think it's a guarantee. Some people will, and others, I have to say, I'm really sorry to say this, people, but I think others will even shed into the earth if they're, buried. Well, I mean, obviously not if they're in big coffins and stuff like that, but it feels like it's in the cells. And so it's unfortunately looks like it's just going to be part of the 10 of Wands is like, it's the burden. It's a very big burden. So, right. It's a big burden. And so in the next 2 years, I mean, this is based on what we have available to us in the next 2 years in terms of technology. I think protocols help, but it's about a 50-50 chance whether there's no more shedding or not. But I do think that in a much longer period of time, the King of Pentacles, he moves really slow. Mm-hmm. That's like gradually. Interesting because we're seeing, right? We think about, is this passed on genetically with, vaccinated people having children? And I do feel like it sort of disappears within, I don't know how many generations, maybe 2, that it goes away. So that's interesting. I've never seen that before. What are you seeing, my love?
I see Tuscan Dawn saying, damn, I'm already neurotic about it. Yeah, and that's the burden, right? The burden for both is that it's what is the purpose in us being given this challenge, and how they will be gone before that massive die-offs.
Right.
Right.
And I had this there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I just don't really want to say those things because this is, again, the purpose of us doing this kind of forecasting is about bringing the very best, not just an okay or a reasonable or a justified outcome, but the higher outcome that we can all strive towards, which would be the ideal, because, it's easy to say, yeah, there will be a lot of die-offs, but many of us have people that we love very, very dearly, our own children, grandchildren, and so on. This is not something we want to wish on any member of our humanity. So it really is about, to me, it is about, we carry the burden with them. And instead of being upset at them for it, it's like, how do we make that burden easier? How do we lighten the load? I'm going to actually pull a couple more cards on that.
Sure. And I really do continuously feel like the tower being that intentional teardown for, before the rebirth, that these, this is, these people that took this and that have taken it are also people that have sacrificed themselves in certain ways to play that role in this time, in this reality. And and what do we do to support ourselves and to like understand the power of purpose on this path.
Interesting, often, like, we talk a lot about the health challenges that we have, that we were born with, our weaknesses, and Crystal has her stuff, I have my stuff, and we're often like, oh my God, what even? Like, we eat so healthy, we live so healthy, we do all the right things, and we still have all these complicated things going on. And sometimes it can feel like, a bit like hard done by all of that, like victimized by, like, why me? Why is this so? We could say, like, why? Why do we have to deal with this? This is terrible. So often, what we recognize with our personal health challenges is that, wow, okay, we just learned about healing. We just learned about frequency upgrade. We just learned, like, how do we know that the challenge of this is not evolving us to a greater version of ourselves on every body, not just the physical, but the metaphysical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. And so the work, yeah, it's a burden, but it's a gateway to upgrading ourselves. So how do you protect yourself? So thinking like that, the one thing that I get, we were asking the question earlier on about the divide on the planet. It's not about banishing these people to the outer ends of the earth, doing to them what they did to us. But it's about saying, like, we would prefer to engage more frequently and have more close connections with people that are like-minded, that have made similar choices, that have made those personal sacrifices that we all made, or most of us made, that were not easy to make. It stands for something. And it is a natural deciding point, right? Like Crystal has talked about with dating and so on. It's like, it becomes another dividing point where it's like, okay, it doesn't mean, again, that we banish those people. But it means that maybe if we have the options, we're going to say, well, I think I would rather spend a bit more time with people in this stream of consciousness. And in a way, it is a gift for us to make those choices. I'm not saying that if you have close loved ones, that is not extremely painful. And yet, maybe on some level, our personal contract is that we needed to develop some sovereignty at this stage in the game. And even in our close family relationships, that we came here to show them what independence and sovereignty looks like. And so,
which is what Urki's saying here too. The deprogramming had to be life-changing to install into the human system to never trust governments with human health. We humans must wake up and become independent of governments.
Yeah. Right. And so this is, it's not an easy fix. There's not going to be a simple, quick solution to this. It is going to be a burden for the rest of our lives. It is. And yet the gifts, the rewards that come down the road as we grow through this, even, it's interesting because Crystal and I, when we moved to a new place, we were so shocked that everyone we met was not jabbed, right? We were like, how can there be so many that aren't? And we were like, is it just this phenomenon in this area? And we realized, no, it was actually that we were just drawing more of that frequency towards us. And I think it is again, it's not about, like, you don't want anyone in your life. And obviously, folks, we know very well that, as I said, there's protocols that help us stay safe. There's protocols that are, for an individual, if they've awakened and want to clear this out of their system, there's protocols for that. All of these things are going to help the situation. And how do we know that doing these protocols isn't actually up-leveling us in other ways, right?
Beautiful. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you next Tuesday. If I don't see you on Thursday.
Yeah, come on over on Thursday, folks. I noticed there was one a personal question
There
up
was a
here.
personal question
And
about legality and
yeah, so bring that question on Thursday, 4
it was
p.m.
right
East,
here.
or sorry, 4 p.m. Pacific time,
Yeah.
which is 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Any legal issues ahead? Lisa Garrett, if you are able to make it on this coming Thursday, the 17th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know there's time conversions that y'all will have to do, but the link is posted already on the channel, so you can go see what time it shows up at for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone.
Have a great week, everybody.
See you soon.
Blessings. Bye for now.